Hey guys, Dr. Decks here. Today I'm going to talk to you about battle wounds and job site scars and things that make you go, So if you like what you see today, hit that subscribe button. Tell all your friends and your family about us. Get them to subscribe as well. We appreciate you watching, and I hope that our page is interesting enough for you to keep coming back. And if you are coming back, don't forget to hit that bell icon so that you can be notified every time we're putting out fresh content. Awesome. So I've had 3 major injuries in my deck building career, and they've all happened in my mid to late 40s and mostly my mid to late 40s. My first major injury, and probably the worst and most severe, was I ruptured my quadricep on my left leg. It was in the fall, and we were moving a lot of material down a slippery slope, and I had to get my mini on site to do some digging and hauling some materials, some concrete. So we were tearing up these homeowners' hill, and it was the only way they were able to get in and out of their house. So I brought a bunch of plywood to work to drive on so we weren't tearing up the yard so bad. And it was probably a 35-degree slope. I was down to my second to last sheet. It was the heaviest sheet. It was soaking wet. It was like 3/4 inch, and it'd been sitting outside, so it was mossy and mildewy. Some of the plywood was slimy a little bit. So I'm huffing this huge sheet of plywood down this hill, and all of a sudden both feet break loose. So now I'm skidding, and I'm on a decline, and I'm trying to keep standing, and I have this 75-pound sheet of plywood, and my front left quadricep couldn't take all that extra pressure, and it snapped. It completely snapped off my kneecap and put me right on my back. So it's pissing down rain. I'm staring up at the sky in immense pain. My heel is connected to my butt because since I don't have any motion now, I could not move my leg. I couldn't move my leg at all. It was just dangling. And I tried to move it, but it wouldn't. It would just sit there. So I tried to deal with it, and I had a big ball of muscle up into my upper thigh. It was extremely painful. So I tried to walk, and I immediately would fall. So I knew I was in trouble. So I went to the hospital, took my flatbed. I went in the emergency room, but I didn't like scream at the emergency room. I just walked in backwards. It's the only way I could walk into the hospital. And they looked at me, and they knew I was in trouble. As a matter of fact, I think the triage was like, "You're in trouble." I'm like, "Yeah. Let's get you a wheelchair." I'm like, "Okay." So they put me up on a gurney. They did some x-rays, and they're like, "Yeah, man, quadriceps blown. Need major surgery today." So I called the surgeon I knew that I did some work for that did that type of work. He's like, "Well, I can't be there till Thursday." I think this was a Monday. He said, "You'll be fine. Just wait for me." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'd rather get this handled." So that was 8 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't operate till 9 o'clock that night. I wasn't allowed to eat anything or drink anything. I was allowed to have a wet sponge in my mouth. So I had to wait 17 hours before they went in for surgery. And then that's when the real pain began. They had to stitch me or cut me open from the bottom of my kneecap till about mid-thigh. So that was pretty brutal. So if I pull my knee pad, you can probably see the scar right here. So it took when I pulled this the quad, it took bone with it. It took bone off my kneecap, and so when the doc was in there, he's like, "Yeah, you have like this divot in your knee now because it ripped the bone." He said, "I got really strong bones, but really weak tendons." I'm like, "Great." So anyway, then I was laid up on a couch for a couple weeks, and then one day I was trying to get in the shower, and there's a little 4-inch lip to get over the shower door. I thought I was gonna die. I was screaming bloody. I didn't realize by trying to lift my leg up, it just was excruciating. So that was a really painful injury, and that probably took about 6 months to fully recover from. But after 2 weeks, I had to get back to work. So they put me in a brace, and I told the doctor, I was like, "Yeah, man, it's Friday. Let's get the surgery done. I got to get back to work on Monday." He's like, "If you can handle the pain, you bet. You can go back to work." Well, he loaded me up with painkillers because he knew how painful this surgery was. And the most painful part was the recovery. The first 4 weeks were pretty bad. And then after that, the next 6 months, I didn't have to do physical therapy because I was running up and down hills. I was climbing ladders in these braces and stuff. It was a nightmare though. There wasn't much I could do about it. You know, I had to have it fixed. And so that's one. So the second injury I got wasn't quite as major, was I tore my bicep from my shoulder blade. And what I was doing, I was working on my Bobcat, I was in a rush, and I was trying to jump out of it, and my foot caught on something, and it flung me forward. So just out of instinct, I went up like this, and I'm falling, and I went up like this, and I was able to grab the bar, but then it snapped the tendon from my bicep that is held up by my shoulder. I think you can see the scar right there. Yeah, I still got my guns. But it hurt. That's funny, it cramps. My muscle cramps. Like when I flex, it hurts right here really bad. So they went in orthoscopically on this one, but my bicep was completely down here in a big bulge, and it was disgusting. And they call that Popeye Arm, and they say, yeah, you don't have to fix this. You could go through the rest of your life looking like this. I'm like, no way am I going to go through the rest of my life. So that was actually an easy surgery. They knocked me out. They fixed it. I was in a sling for a couple weeks, and the thing, the doctor is the same doctor that did my knee, and he's like, hey man, I know you. He said, you really have to take it easy. If you don't take it easy, I'm worried you're going to tear that back out, and then it's going to be really hard to repair again. There's Kevlar up in here. I was like, okay. He said, what's funny, again, hard bones. He said he had to go get a bigger drill to set this tendon back into my shoulder because the one he started with wouldn't cut it. So that was my second one. That one wasn't such a bad recovery. It was just inconvenient because I was in a sling a lot. Good thing I'm left-handed, you know, so I'm kind of ambidextrous, but I was able to get a lot done even in a sling. And then eventually I was able to just kind of pull the sling out and do a little bit and then put it back in and all that. So that one wasn't too bad. And then the last injury I've had was my most recent one, and that was in 2017. And I tore my Achilles in half. I just had a new motor put in my flatbed truck, and the mechanics disconnected the alarm that was on it, but not completely. So I was on a bid. I just got the truck back. I was like, first couple days I was using it, I went on a bid, and I shut off the truck, and it was a police officer and his wife, and they're like, hey, I need you to move your truck. I have to go to work. I'm like, okay. He was all in uniform and walking out the door. I was like, okay, no problem. So I go to start my truck, it won't start. Huh. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to throw it neutral. I'm going to push the truck out of the way of the police officer's car so he can bounce. So I put my truck in neutral. I walk around. It's just a flat driveway. And I push as hard as I can on the back of my truck. And it felt like I put my left foot through the concrete. What I had done is I completely severed my Achilles tendon instead. And then I'm hobbling around like an idiot. And then the truck starts. I couldn't believe it. I went and picked up my tools from another job site, drove home, and then my son took me to the hospital. So I didn't know this at the time, but after some talking with doctors, that one didn't require surgery. I just had to keep my foot elevated like a ballerina kind of, and I had to wear this boot for like 6 weeks. After a couple weeks of like immobility, and that healed naturally. It's still painful. It's probably one of the more painful injuries I've had. And I still can't lift my body weight on that foot, and I don't think I ever will be able to. And again, I skipped physical therapy on that one, and I probably shouldn't have. That one I probably should have continued going on, because I noticed my left calf is a lot smaller than my right one. But again, because I'm the type of work I do, the physical labor and climbing things and up ladders, down ladders, all that, I felt like I was taking care of it. But anyway, those are my 3 major injuries in my career so far. Knock on plastic. That hopefully that's it, that I won't have anymore. I just have to be careful as I get older, make sure that doesn't happen. So hey guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like icon, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified every time we're putting out fresh content. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.